I was asked to do a video on my opinion of, quote, LGBTQ plus stuff. So here goes. Right off the bat, this seems like a pretty vague and broad topic, since it spans across everything related to all gender identities and sexual orientations outside of the norm. But I think I can keep this from running an hour long. After all, my opinions on a lot of the related things are simple, and some of the others are more internal issues or otherwise things I doubt were the intent of the question. When it comes to basic rights in society, regardless of what part of the group is being discussed, or really what group is being discussed, I'm in favor of them. Same basic thing goes for treating people with some general level of respect, courtesy, and decency until they have shown that they deserve something else, and sometimes even after. This is the case whether it's people who just look different, come from different places, have different ideas or beliefs, or go about their lives differently. Most things shouldn't really matter until they start to actually impact other people. So this absolutely also goes for treating people decently regardless of what they do with their own body or with other consenting adults in private. Now, for some of the stuff I suspect was more likely of interest. For the sake of keeping this video a decent length, I'm going to try not to go into great detail on everything. If I see a reason to, I might make a video on a specific thing later in the future. When it comes to the addition of more and more labels and letters, I think it can be confusing to people and can result in an umbrella that sounds a lot like alphabet soup, but I don't inherently have a problem with someone having a word to describe what they are trying to say. In fact, that seems to be kind of the point of language. Unfortunately, when there's a lot of change really quick, it can be difficult for people to keep up and it can become confusing. It also means that often there are a ton of new labels that people are still having to constantly explain each time. This would seem to defeat the purpose of having a single word for whatever you're describing. Basically, I just don't have that strong of an opinion either way, and I can see both the benefit of them and why it could seem problematic or to have gone too far. When it comes to the recently modified flag, I consider it kind of silly. People of color isn't actually related to the rest of the things on the list. And even if it was, I don't think the flag needs special stripes to represent every individual thing. As far as I'm aware, we don't have a particular bi stripe and a particular asexual stripe and so on. Still, I don't really care if LGBT people of color want to have their own flag or symbols. If they want to use it themselves, that's fine. I just don't think that it needs to replace the overall umbrella symbolism since that was already meant to represent everybody. When it comes to all of the extra genders that people are arguing over, I think what's going on is basically people are not all talking about the same thing. Honestly, this is one area where I think Lacey Green recently did a really great job of explaining. Some people are talking about biology, some people are talking about cultural expectations, and some people are talking about identity. All of these different versions of what gender is lead to a lot of people arguing past each other and more or less fighting straw men. This results in some serious trouble getting to any valuable conversations on the matter. As far as trans people using the bathroom or changing rooms or the like, I think a lot of people make a bigger deal out of it than it really is. Everyone has to use these rooms in certain situations. As far as I'm concerned, we could just stop separating it as if somebody having a different body part is going to make a difference as to if they're a threat or not. While we're at it, we could also make the individual stalls in our bathrooms actually private, which would solve some of the concerns, I think. When it comes to transitioning, what an adult does with their own body when it doesn't impact anybody else is just nobody's business. So that part wouldn't even be worth more time discussing. When it comes to children, the simple version of what I believe is that we should leave it to the children and the medical professionals. Parents should be involved in their children's lives, including this part of it, but they shouldn't be trying to force anyone to be what they're not. This is true whether it's demanding that they believe in something they don't, trying to force them to like and date certain people that the parents think they should, like the opposite sex or a certain race, or insisting they conform to what they were expected to be the day they were born. While this is something that occurred after the question was asked, another related issue right now is the recent reinstatement of, or perhaps more accurately plan or claim to reinstate, the ban on trans individuals serving in the military. The very simple version of my opinion on this is that I don't think it makes any sense. I think those individuals should be held to the same standards as anyone else wishing to join. If they meet all the requirements, pass all the tests, etc., just like anyone else would have to, why shouldn't they be able to serve? And if they don't, then they probably shouldn't be in the military, but they wouldn't be even without such a ban. As far as the more ridiculous claims that random obscure things are transphobic or homophobic, I expect some of this gets overblown and people misunderstand, while other parts are just people spouting nonsense. No, I don't think everything is something phobic, racist, or otherwise related to some form of hatred or desire to discriminate. And I definitely don't accept the idea that someone preferring any particular type over another, including someone who's just not interested in trans individuals, is automatically in some serious way against those people who aren't part of their type. I'm sure there are some biases that play into it, the way there are biases that play into everything we think and do. But the implicitly negative tone of many of the specific terms, and even the definitions of the terms themselves, just often don't apply. Of course, there are obviously people who dislike or even hate some particular group and base their preferences off that. There are people who don't want to date a particular race because they're racist. But not everybody who doesn't want to date someone is doing it because of that. The same goes for trans individuals. So these were the main things I could think of that might have been being discussed. I never really did get any more clarity as to what was specifically being asked. But thanks for the question. If you have any other questions for me or topics you think I should address, please feel free to ask or suggest it in the comments. As always, civil discussion, suggestions, and constructive criticism are welcome in the comments or via social media. Feel free to rate, comment, and share. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe and click the bell for notifications. And check out the description for any sources that I used.